Alright, let's dive into something that has been driving me and probably you nuts lately. Gacha Tribalism. I mean, it's not like it's a new problem, but it's gotten insanely out of hand. Fans are fighting like sports teams instead of just enjoying the games. But you all know I've covered the 𝗖𝗆𝗵𝗵𝗁 versus 𝗖ście𝗍𝗆𝗍 drama before, and honestly, I've even played a part in stoking these debates on my channel. I get it. When you're deep into your favorite game, defending it feels almost like defending your virginity, which I have been really good at considering I haven't lost it. Today, I want to explore how figures like MrPokke are fanning the flames of this tribalism, what that means for the community, and if we're lucky, how we might steer the conversation towards something even more constructive. In other words, let's see if we can actually talk about the game quality and monetization without it turning into an internet brawl. But first, what exactly is Gacha Tribalism? It's this phenomenon where fans treat their favorite games like it's a part of their identity. Instead of just playing different games or even admitting that every game has its flaws, people dig in and start attacking anyone who criticizes their million-dollar company or praises a rivaling million-dollar company. The result? Our discussions quickly turn into endless and pointless internet wars. Imagine trying to talk about a game's monetization or gameplay balance, only to have the conversation derailed by someone yelling, "Your game is trash and mine is the only way to go. It's my million-dollar company." These battles over personal opinions don't just get noisy, they often completely drown out any serious conversation about how the games can actually improve.
One idea that would make Genshin Impact feel way better: when you run parties with characters that have interactions, they will interact while you play.
It's like arguing about which pizza topping is better when the oven is broken, and we all know pineapple works on pizza. But hey Glaive, why does Gacha Tribalism exist in the first place? First of all, let's talk about the investment. For these people that support the Gacha Tribalism, gacha games aren't just casual pastime. They're a serious commitment. These players spend hundreds of hours grinding and often a good chunk of cash on these games. So when someone criticizes your favorite game, it almost feels like they're attacking your life choices. Once you're this invested, it's hard not to go into full defense mode even if the game has obvious issues. It's like you bought a new iPhone and someone tells you that Samsung is just better. You're not gonna let that slide without a fight. Now let's be honest, the companies behind these games are no saints either. They design mechanics and marketing strategies that deliberately pit communities against each other. Take for example how 𝗖𝗆𝗵𝗵𝗁 would schedule their Genshin update livestream on the same day that Wuthering Waves was set to update with 1.1. This forced Kuru Games into a kind of reactive cat and mouse chase that only made fans even more defensive. And finally, we got the content creators. Let's face it, drama sells. Ragebait posts and inflammatory hot takes generate tons of clicks, views, and revenue. The more outrageous the content, the more people tune in, and the more money flows in. The industry thrives on keeping us all emotionally engaged in these tribal debates instead of focusing on real improvements. When discussions revolve around which game is better purely on fan loyalty, the actual issues like monetization problems or design flaws get completely ignored. But let's talk about this one content creator that is constantly fueling the fire recently. MrPokke, the LeBron James of 𝗖𝗆𝗍𝗆𝗍. Or actually not even 𝗖𝗆𝗍𝗆𝗍. He has been talking smacks to 𝗖𝗆𝗍𝗆𝗍 too. Somehow he's making everyone fight. But anyways, this isn't about making a well-reasoned argument, it's about being outrageously loud. MrPokke doesn't need to be right, he just needs to shout loud enough to get everyone's attention. Every controversial take he drops is engineered to spark fights and keep his name trending. The more chaos he causes, the more relevant he becomes. Every time he ruffles some feathers with his outrageous opinions, whether it's justifying the company's predatory behavior or straight up victim blaming, he's essentially banking on controversy. And wow, has he been cancelled more than once. In fact, he has been cancelled multiple times in just the month of January. Yet he always manages to spin it all into a win. Instead of disappearing into obscurity, he positions himself as the misunderstood hero, the one who's being unfairly attacked by a sensitive crowd. He is everything 𝗖𝗆 wanted to be. It's a cycle. Outrage sparks engagement, engagement boosts his profile, and then he flips the narrative to claim that he is the only one that should be getting praise. What's really fascinating is how MrPokke has built his online persona around a sort of duality. At first, he says that he wants peace, love, and happiness 2025, but then one minute he's a provocateur, calling his own community stupid and greedy, and then blaming 𝗖𝗆𝗵𝗵𝗁 for the hate that he receives back, blaming the victim, and then playing the victim himself. And then the next moment, he tries to play the peacemaker, as if he's the voice of reason in the sea of madness. This constant flip-flopping ends up in confusing viewers. Are you supposed to see him him as the Gacha Jesus or just an idiot with a megaphone. Either way, his contradictory stance only fuels more debates, and it leaves us all scratching our heads. After he set the community on fire, MrPokke's typical response is to engage in damage control. Instead of owning up to the chaos he created, he fires off a long-winded, condescending threads that boil down to simple message. It's not me, it's you. I should be the only one getting praised. He even uses the mirror metaphor, as if he's showing the community its own flaws. And honestly, if you're going to hand out mirrors, maybe take a good look at your own reflection first, MrPokke. And yes, when you look in the mirror, you're handsome, tall, muscular, very, very charming, funny, energetic, caring, smart, logical. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your online behavior, buddy. It's like he's saying, see, you're the problem, while completely ignoring the fact that he lit the fire in the first place. And the result of it, the community becomes even more divided, toxic, and less capable of having any meaningful discussion. Instead of addressing real issues like game quality, monetization, or even constructive criticism, the focus shifts entirely to these endless tribal wars. Ironically, this is the very chaos MrPokke claims he wants to fix. His actions only reinforce the toxic environment he criticizes, leaving us all wondering what it means. Let's contrast the wildfire of tribalism with a refreshing alternative, Gacha Smack's approach. Unlike the endless bickering we see from content creators, Gacha Smack has shown us that you can offer genuine praise without igniting a war. For example, his tweet about Zenless Zone Zero's minigames was all about celebrating what they do well. He said something like, the Zenless Zone Zero team is doing a phenomenal job with their arcade and minigames, and then went on a rave about how these games capture the fun of titles like Vampire Survivors and Fall Guys. The point is clear. You can share a positive opinion without coming off as aggressive or dismissive towards other games. Gacha Smack's second tweet reinforces this idea. He points out that as long as you don't single out or aggro a community, sharing your honest opinion is totally acceptable. He even emphasizes that his credibility comes from a long track record of fair and balanced opinions. It's a reminder that when content creators are consistent and measured in their critiques, the community tends to respond with support, or at the very least, respectful indifference. The lesson here is simple. Real credibility isn't built on endless rage bait. It comes from fairness and a willingness to engage in balanced discussions. If we all started keeping it fair and in good faith, maybe, just maybe, we could shift the conversation from petty tribal wars to genuine improvements in game design, monetization practices, balancing, and overall player experience. Now imagine the gacha community could actually talk about games without every conversation turning into an all-out internet war. Picture a space where you can say, I like Wuthering Waves' combat, I like Genshin's lore, and no one immediately explodes in the comments. Instead of instantly labeling you as a traitor, people might actually consider your opinion, even if they disagree. It's a community where fans share ideas, insights, and constructive criticism without it devolving into a fight club. What if, instead of pitting our fandoms against each other over every little detail, we shifted our focus to real issues? Imagine discussions that tackle topics that actually matter in the game. A space where debates are less about defending our personal investments and more about actually making the games better for everyone. Picture a place where our passion drives innovation instead of fueling endless tribal loyalty. Now, I know this vision is wildly naive. Gacha companies thrive on drama. They bank on our emotional investments and our need to defend our choices. It sounds like a utopia, and maybe it is, but even a small shift in focus could make that big difference. Sure, it might seem like we're dreaming too big, but what if we started asking ourselves whether we're fighting because the game is truly bad, or simply because we've been conditioned to take any critique as a personal attack? Games are meant to be fun. Now, I know that some tribalism will always be around, and it's part of the culture at this point. Maybe if we could step back and think critically about our debates, we would realize that improving our gaming experiences is way more important than who wins in an internet argument. So while my vision might be a little bit of an idealistic daydream, it's a reminder that our collective energy could be better spent making the space more welcoming and productive, one balanced discussion at a time. Now let's wrap this up. We've seen how Gacha Tribalism has evolved into an all-out war zone fueled by our personal investments and a culture of endless online battles. We have dissected why this happens, whether it's the money and the time we pour into these games, the tactics devs use to pit us against each other, or the rage bait strategies of content creator like MrPokke. We've also looked at a more balanced approach through Gacha Smack's example, proving that it's possible to celebrate what's good in our games without sparking a digital brawl. At the end of the day, we just want to enjoy our games and see real improvements. But you know, maybe we also want to waste our energy on petty fan wars. That's okay too. But the point of this video is that if we can shift our focus from tribal loyalty to constructive criticism, maybe the gacha space can finally start addressing the issues that actually matter. If you're still getting riled up by every tweet and meme, just ask yourself, are you fighting for a better game, or are you just MrPokke?